Enablement as it is known now is dead. In the era of revenue activation, activating that revenue potential, activating the potential of people, that's where the key focus is shifting. Don't get me wrong, we still have the content, we still have the learning that's necessary, but those are means to an end. When I'm leveraging AI and leveraging it effectively, it is possible to achieve explosive growth without commensurate growth in headcount. This is the new norm going forward. One shift that I would strongly recommend the GTM leaders to think deeply about. This shift is...
Sreedhar Peddineni helped define the customer success category before it even existed.
And now he's explaining why consolidation isn't actually innovation.
And what it really takes to build revenue activation in today's world.
Getting two reasonably sized companies together, making the company larger, those are classic signs of category hitting its ceiling. Being large, in fact, works against you because the change management is really hard. So the young, nimbler companies are at an unnatural advantage. In this era, a few months, we get outdated. There's so many AI tools that are coming out. Those are areas where I would say that these are distraction. Any solution that is well crafted in the world of AI, they're not point solutions. They're transforming the workflows altogether, end to end. With people who can leverage AI strategically, there are two things that are happening. A, time savings, and I'm also getting faster outcomes. So non-linearity of growth is possible today for AI native businesses. When you talk about revenue activation as a leader of the company, I would really double down on...
Welcome to GTM Vault, trusted by over 25,000 founders and operators building the future of revenue. Today's guest co-founded Gainsight before customer success was even a defined category. He helped name it, architect it, and scale it into one of the defining companies in modern B2B. Now, as co-founder and CEO of GTM Buddy, he is doing it again. This time, the category is revenue activation. Two of the largest sales enablement platforms just merged. A third merger preceded it months earlier. Sreedhar wrote publicly that consolidation is what happens when a category runs out of architectural headroom. That merging two portals does not change the portal model. That adding AI to storage architecture is not transformation. It is acceleration of the same design. Today, we go deep on category life cycles, execution gaps, revenue causation, and what modern GTM must architect differently in an AI-native world. Sreedhar, welcome to GTM Vault.
Thank you so much for having me, Rick. Glad to be here.
You co-founded Gainsight before customer success had language. How do you know when you are naming something structural versus just labeling a feature?
So that goes back almost 15 years ago. So Gainsight came to be as just by way of introduction. I'm a serial entrepreneur. My first company that I co-founded is a company called Host Analytics, now renamed Planful, in the category of financial planning and financial consolidations and so on. And the second company was Gainsight, and now I co-founded GTM Buddy. The idea for Gainsight came to be as Host Analytics was scaling, as we were acquiring customers and growing the business. We came to a point where every single quarter we add to the top line, add new customers to the mix, and also we had customers to renew. And whenever there was a customer cancellation, commonly known as churn, we realized that we have a leaky bucket. So we started thinking about that was the context in 2008, 2009 timeframes that my partner Jim Evelyn and I started thinking about, okay, this is a problem that's not unique to us. Any subscription-based business is going through the same challenges, and there was no solution around at the point in time. So almost a year's worth of ideation and iterations later, we launched Gainsight. When we launched, we were the world's first company that called ourselves as a customer success platform. And so you also made a great point in terms of how do you know if you're creating a category or we're just naming it something different? To that, the problem that we were trying to solve for, we knew that that's near universal. There was no existing solution that was available in the market at that point in time. And also, hey, there was no function called customer success at this time. So in 2011, we had a product that we launched and we called it customer success. We're still trying to figure out who do we sell this thing to? Because there's no chief customer officer or a customer success function did not exist at most companies. Do we sell this to the support function? Do we sell it to the services function? Do we sell it to the CEO and all of that, right? The early customers that we dealt with were customers who were really early to the movement in terms of trying to figure out that they need to be proactive about retaining customers. And those were the people who saw our vision and got us into their business, and those were our early customers. And one thing led to another, raising of capital, and growth happened much later.
You watched customer success go from undefined to mandatory. At what point did you recognize enablement was following a similar life cycle arc?
So the enablement was not exactly the same cycle that that customer success was in. In the world of customer success, we are basically in an environment where there was no function called customer success, but the business problem existed. People started realizing about the business problem. Now, as that awareness started to grow, the function came to be. And once the function came in, the people were getting hired into that function. The tooling was required to support that function, right? When you talk about revenue activation, the companies, the current status quo of the market is what you call revenue enablement. And a precursor to that was content management systems and learning management systems. That the consolidation that you're seeing right now. So this is a more of an evolution of an existing category into something dramatically different, as opposed to a completely new category getting born. But it's a new category that's taking birth out of the existing category of enablement.
You wrote that consolidation happens when categories run out of ideas. Is this an idea problem or an architecture problem?
So it's an architectural problem. By architecture, I just don't mean the technology architecture of the products and companies, but the architecture of the business model itself. If you look at the categories with all due respect, in our category, the largest players were Seismic, Highspot, Showpad, and Big Tin Can. They really were instrumental to the birth of these categories. They all started as content management systems and so on. Now, that category, and they all have raised millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in capital. So if you just look at Highspot and Seismic in the heydays of 2021-22, both of them have raised capital. They were both valued at about $3.5 billion each. Over $2 billion in terms of venture capital raised just between those two companies. $2 billion in venture funding between two companies. Probably they are at about $600 million, both the companies combined. Now, any venture investor or an employee, early employee, or the founders of the company are looking for an exit. And that exit is nowhere in sight, given the market environment right now. Given the size of the companies, it does not make sense to an IPO. So the companies do consolidate. This is a consolidation in the service of getting an exit, as opposed to a consolidation to foster innovation. You're getting two reasonably sized companies together, making the company larger, making it IPO ready. That's the intent. Those are classic signs of category hitting its ceiling, where the innovation is not the driver. You're not broadening the category. You're not getting into adjacent use cases, adjacent functions. You're just beefing up the size of the company. That's what I mean by hitting the ceiling.
You are a 40-plus person company competing against platforms like 1,000-plus employees. Where does a small team win structurally, not tactically?
Yep. So this is a great question. And the answer has changed dramatically in the past 2 years or 3 years now, especially with rapid adoption of AI. So just to give our own company's example, last year we grew 3x. The company grew 3x, but our headcount remained flat. We're about 44 people at the beginning of the year, and we grew 3x. The business grew 3x, and the headcount remained the same. So the non-linearity of growth is possible today for AI native businesses. So when I say AI native, I'm not just talking about at GTM Buddy, we're building this cool AI product, but it's in the DNA of the company. How do you run your business, and how do you become an AI native company across the functions? It's not just about building the AI product, but how do I run my finance? What's the role of AI in that? How do I run marketing? What's the role of AI in that? How do I run engineering and product and customer success across the board? This AI capabilities, the moment you start rewiring your DNA, the company's DNA, it is possible to achieve explosive growth without a commensurate growth in headcount. And there are examples that are the companies that have been even more successful than we are. We know of companies that are at 10 people and have reached like $10 million, $20 million, and raised hundreds of million dollars of capital. So we are not an exception, but this is the new norm going forward. Being large, in fact, works against you, because the change management for all of us humans, including myself, change management is really hard. If you have more people that need to change and adopt to new ways of working, that's that much more harder. So the young, nimbler companies are at a unnatural advantage in this era.
You said the Highspot and Seismic merger does not fix the architecture. What is the underlying architectural flaw they are merging together?
Yeah, if you look at the category, Rick, so the category Highspot and Seismic were both born as content management systems, which are aimed for the GTM teams or the sales teams predominantly. Salespeople need content, marketing produces content. You would create a repository of sorts, some form of a SharePoint portal or a purpose-built Google Drive for the sales team. Make it easier for search and discovery so that reps are not hunting for information, they're able to find the content more easily. That was a foundational idea of these companies. And parallel to this, there was a learning management systems that evolved. LMS systems were there for a long time, but people started realizing that learning for sales team is a slightly different beast. There's some specific nuances and specific capabilities that are needed. So there was sales-focused sales readiness platforms that emerged. And in 2021-22 timeframes, as part of that consolidation wave that happened, the earlier prior consolidation wave, the learning systems and the content systems came together. And that category was called revenue enablement. And that's the category in which all of the companies that went through the consolidation the last 6 months were predominantly the CMS, LMS providers. And as a result of this consolidation, if I look at Highspot and Seismic as an example, Seismic is a company that grew by acquisitions, probably 5 or 6 acquisitions, their lifetime, probably more. And both of them have a strong CMS offering, content management system offering. So you have two companies, two CMSs that are coming together, and it's one company now. If I'm a buyer in the market, I had a choice before. Do I go with Seismic or do I go with Highspot? Now, okay. Now I have to, do I choose like Seismic and hope that their roadmap will keep moving? Or do I pick Highspot and hope that product moves? And it's the exact same shoes that you see in Showpad and Big Tin Can. So this is a category problem. But if you look at the functional problem, zooming out a little, functionally, from a business perspective, people are struggling with, okay, when the value of enablement has been a challenge. This is something that's been talked about in the past 3-4 years a lot. A number of enablement professionals who talk about the job losses that the profession has seen, primarily because the function is seen as good to have. Nobody denies the need that, okay, I am hiring people, I need to train them. No leadership denies that. But when the push comes to the shove, when the zero interest policy is over, money is tight, you always start cutting what's good to have. And enablement was always equated with a good to have function. Good to have because, training, yes, there's a correlation between that and eventual success of a rep. The need of the hour is about how do you prove that the enablement efforts that people are investing in is moving the needle on the revenue. How is it activating the revenue outcomes? That's where we are focused on. That's where we see the category evolving into. Enablement is not the focus area, but activating that revenue potential, activating the potential of people. That's where the key focus is shifting.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? In small and medium-sized companies, you generally don't have the resources to allocate toward an enablement function. So you have marketing responsible for building out the assets, and half the time, like there's a coordination problem with sales because they don't know what assets even if they do know, all the different reps or the AEs need different assets based on their patch and their lists. So because it has an indirect effect on sales effectiveness, it oftentimes gets overlooked.
Yeah. In the era of revenue activation, we are moving well past that of finding assets, right? So with enablement with a content system, reps they wanted to find a pitch deck. They wanted to find a case study. And they would go search for it. And how do I find that asset? That was the problem statement. In the era of revenue activation, that's not where the problem statement starts. I, as a rep, am getting on a discovery call with a mid-sized manufacturing company in the Midwest region. Now, given that context, what is that information that I should know? I'm getting on a call with an IT person trying to sell my solution, director of IT. Now, can I leverage AI to deliver, okay, you're getting on a call with this persona, and this persona in this industry has these are the typical problem statements, the pain points. Can you talk to that pain? Can you share evidence of how you solve that pain? Establish that those pains resonate with them. And once it is established, can you talk about how you solve for that pain? Now, if I am a rep, how do I even do that?
It's a lot of work.
Yep. With a lot of work, I can go search, prepare for these meetings and all of that. What if the AI is in a position to read the details of the person that you're meeting with. Find out what the account is about. What's the size of that account? Which segment does it belong in? Based on the person's title, can I enrich what I know about the person? Can I identify what are the likely pain points that you would want to validate upfront? That's the world of activation. Now, once you have validated that, you're also looking at, I use MEDPIC as my qualification methodology. As part of your discovery call, these are the questions that you want to find out, surfacing that continual reinforcement and helping the rep when they're executing on revenue. That's the world of revenue activation. In that world, don't get me wrong, we still have the content, we still have the learning that's necessary. The learning also includes the role plays, AI role plays, and all of that, right? But those are means to an end. Activation in the moment of need, where the rep lives, that's where the buck is headed, right?
Yeah, that's a huge bottleneck you're solving, right? Because at the point you can dynamically personalize the proposal or the deck that you're sending based on the account and the contacts and what tier might be most applicable to them based on the revenue, their position in the market. You resolve a huge bottleneck, which allows the team to now streamline the process of creating decks personalized for each account. And so I don't know, maybe saving 10 hours a week per team or per rep.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's
So
got
that's
to be,
why saving time is one part of it. It's an important part of it because you're giving back time to the rep so that they have more selling time, right? In addition to that, we don't stop at that. What are the processes that we hoped we are able to do, but it's not happening today in the service of driving that revenue? Let me give an example. So just before this call, I'm giving a real life example. I have a call at 2 p.m. Right after this call, I'm getting onto a sales call. Me and my partner, my head of sales, it's a strategic account for us and preparing for the call. And as part of that call, the prospect has already told us that, okay, we'd want to do a proof of concept of sorts. Okay. And when they said proof of concept, we wanted to create a very personalized plan in terms of, any POC which is not bounded. It becomes an open-ended proof of concept. I might say that, okay, I have set up my instance of GTM Buddy and you go play with it and then tell me it's all is a go or not. What we are shooting for is an alignment in terms of, okay, it's a proof of concept. Yes, we are willing to do because you're a large customer, potentially a large deal. But you want to establish guardrails. The guardrails are, okay, here is what we will do. And here is what you expect to achieve during the proof of concept period of, let's say, 30 days. And here is what the success looks like, right? We needed to create an action plan for the POC. This is the setup of the problem statement. Now, with GTM Buddy, all that we did was we went into GTM Buddy's instance. We looked at all the prior interactions with the prospect and asked GTM Buddy, we call it Nucleus, the product that we're launching. It's not at GA. We are drinking our own champagne right now. We asked in terms of, okay, this is a POC plan and help us put together a POC. And the system was able to generate the entire plan for the POC. That in about 30 minutes from now, we're going to be presenting that plan to the prospect. They might want to tweak it some. We're 90% there. Now, this is something, it's not just about productivity. It's about proving that we have listened to them in terms of what are their pain points that they have articulated. We needed to make sure that that's captured in the POC. And we established the mutual acceptance criteria. What's the success criteria like for the POC? All of that articulated in the matter of minutes. Prior to leveraging an AI tool like GTM Buddy, that would have taken hours, or would every rep be able to create such a document? That's anybody's guess. Some of the smarter ones, yes, they could, but every rep, doubtful.
What is the difference between revenue visibility and revenue causation, and why has an entire category been comfortable selling one without proving the other?
So, how do you define revenue visibility? I can talk about the causation. I just want to make sure that we both are using the same definition of revenue visibility.
What's your definition of revenue visibility?
So as CEO of the company, for me, what's revenue visibility? I just went through my board conversations, operating plan for the year, and I have forecasts for the business that I share with the board. Then on a quarterly basis, we have revenue forecasts that we deliver, and we review the current pipeline reviews and forecast reviews once a week. And what is the visibility that I have as a leader of the company in terms of, okay, where do we stand vis-a-vis our targets? That to me is a visibility problem. Now, that visibility has always been challenging because a lot of times it's subjective. you're dependent a lot of times on reps' intuition, their judgment call. I think this deal is going to close based on the conversation that I've had, but there's no objective evidence to that. So this has been an eternal problem, improving the forecast accuracies, understanding where you exactly stand in the pipeline. And the third aspect of it, one is visibility. Where do we stand? And how accurate is it? Is the second layer of that. And three, how can I move the needle on converting better, hitting the number? That's where the activation comes in. Now, these two layers in terms of the visibility of where we stand, data-driven basis, that's where tools like GTM Buddy come into play. I'm not claiming that it's only GTM Buddy that does it. You could do it manually. You could download all the deal data and you could set up your cloud project or do whatever. The manual approaches to doing that. Yeah. But with tools like GTM Buddy, you understand in terms of where do you stand. If you use a medpick or band or spin, whatever your methodology is, you would know exactly in terms of where do you stand on the deal. And that is automated for you.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, even just the idea of recording manually each one of the calls and then uploading them and having like the AI on the back end, like scan through the captions of the transcription of the meeting. That's going to take even half 30 minutes just to manually do that single component. So,
Yep.
I mean, it's huge because
so you nailed it, right? So we're getting into in the world of AI, the tools that everybody has access to tools. It's not a tool problem. AI tools and AI tools are evolving. How do you keep pace with change is a different problem. So, but the manual hops that one needs to go. How many people are motivated to do that? How long does it take is becoming a bigger problem. That's where tech and the architectural constructs that you have come into play. How many integrations does your platform have? How many are out of the box? What's the MCP strategy of the company? Everybody checks a box saying that in today's world, every software vendor will tell you that we have an MCP. But what can you truly do with the MCP? A well-architected MCP can really eliminate all of that work of downloading the transcripts, getting the CRM data, getting your content engagement data. All of that, the MCP does it for you by exposing a unified interface. GTM Buddy's MCP is architected that way. So I don't need to do any of that manual work. I can have a predefined skill that is architected. That skill I could go and do it in Claude, but you'll need to do just the way you described. I will need to download my stuff and put it there. And like I would expect every. Yep.
And that's just for one component, right? Of your like, if you look at what GTM Buddy is doing, there are several other features outside of just the surfacing the insight that comes from and matching that with, say, a spreadsheet. You have the back end with what solutions fit what problems.
Double clicking on what you just said and connecting it back to the example. The example was that this call that's coming up in 25 minutes from now, we have a POC plan that we need to present to the prospect and get their sign off, right? We created the POC plan. How do I share it with the prospect? That's where our digital sales room comes into play. There's already a microsite that we had set up for this prospect. This page is getting published there, which they can review and update. So you're connecting all the dots in terms of what happens in the revenue workflow is critically important. If I were to have 10-point solutions for every single thing, then I'm doing that hops. Do this here, then come here, then go there.
Right. And so have you guys already evolved into a company-wide solution?
Absolutely. The pattern that we see starts off with sales team. The logical expansions that we see is getting into all of GTM teams, expands into the sales development teams, SDR, BDR teams, e-sales and post-sales functions, professional services and customer success in particular. And increasingly, we're seeing the channel motions for channel partner enablement. So we see all of the GTM teams at a company adopting our solution.
Great. And if you were designing revenue activation from zero today, no legacy stack, no inherited process, what would you build first?
I would really double down on meeting the rep where they are at. The context is everything in today's world. I can get the information to support serving the rep with the information. That's a secondary problem. There's no problem of creation of content is cheap these days. It's about the context engineering part of it in terms of the context of revenue. If I am a CSM, getting on a difficult call with a customer of mine who might be churning. Now, how do that's the context we want the systems to understand. and provide the right guidance in the service of supporting that context and further my business objectives. Context engineering that goes around that's where my focus would be. That's where I'll start.
If AI injects signal directly into workflow, what happens to the middle layers built around oversight and management?
So AI is injecting signals. I'll talk about the current state. I'm not talking about, let's say, what's going to happen 3, 5, 10 years from now. At this point in time, we have human in the loop. That's what we strongly believe in. Especially you're talking about large transactions with customers or prospects. We do want to equip the human with 95% of the work, but a human oversight is something that we strongly recommend, especially when it is customer facing. So it is assistive to the human, not replacing the human. If that's what you're asking.
Yes, yes. Does AI make sellers more strategic or compress the role into pure execution?
I think it can make sellers far more strategic if the rep is ready for it. So this almost the situation. I think we were talking about it the other day. Everybody says that I use AI. Everybody has a ChatGPT license or a Claude license or a Gemini license, and everybody is using that as a replacement to a Google search, maybe for improving their email copies or social posts and stuff like that. That's something that most of us do. But the reps who are strategic about it in terms of investing cycles to learn the possibilities, learn the art of possible with AI, they are getting far more strategic in terms of their usage of AI. So, and they're spending less time in terms of the grunt work. If I were to talk about creation of that POC plan, I'm using that just as an example. If I'm a strategic rep, I would think about how do I want to structure the POC? I would have spent hours of time to craft that plan. But if I'm not strategic enough, then I would say, okay, sign up for POC and good to go, get something in place, paperwork in place, and start the POC. That's what an average rep would do. A strategic rep would have invested time to create that. Now, a strategic rep with the right knowledge of AI can leverage AI to get to that and more faster. It makes them even more strategic and productive.
Where does AI meaningfully close the execution gap? And where does it create more surface level noise?
So the surface level noise, I'll answer the second thing first. My perspective, the world is not short of bells and whistles. Let's be honest, there's so many AI tools that are coming out. Every single day you come across 5 new tools that have come out in the market. Now, adding all of this into the workflow, is that going to work? Or are you going to deal with explode from you're dealing with 10 to 15 tools that reps are using? Or are you going to add another 10? And how many of these tools are deeper? In the world of startups, you would know this very well. There were solutions which are AI wrappers. I create a thin UI layer on top of a ChatGPT or a Claude, and I would call this a solution. So those are areas where I would say that these are distraction. Any solution that is well crafted into this world, in the world of AI, my view is that either you're building those frontier models like the OpenAIs and the Googles and whatnot, or you're building out well-crafted applications that re-envisage, recraft the workflows for the AI era. They're not point solutions. They're transforming the workflows altogether, end to end.
You build GTM Buddy on the belief that capacity already exists inside most teams. What unlocks it and what keeps it buried?
Great question. So when we think about capacity, so we talk about, in my world, in a leadership role, typically I would say, okay, at this point in time, should I hire more people? Yes, no. That could be a rep that I need to hire, or could be a pre-sales engineer that I need to hire, or a CSM, across all functions, right? So there are thumb rules that companies follow in terms of, okay, a rep has 15 or 20 active deals at a given point in time. It's time to add a new rep. Okay, the thumb rule might vary from person to person based on their philosophy, size of deals, and so on, right? Now, why does the thumb rule came to be? It is a function of recognition that as a human being, I can only do so much work in the 8 hours a day. Even if I was stretching a little bit, I cannot do too much more than that. That's a recognition of that capacity constraint. But when I'm leveraging AI and leveraging it effectively, I'm freeing up a lot of my time, and I'm also getting faster outcomes. So there are 2 things that are happening: time savings, and by doing the right things and delighting my prospects, I'm able to do more and shorten the deal cycle. When I'm shortening the deal cycle, that creates its own capacity. Instead of waiting for 3 months to close a deal or 90 days, I'm able to close a deal on an average in 60 days. That adds to my capacity. Instead of spending 40 hours on a particular deal, AI is able to help me do all of those activities and more in 30 hours. I'm unlocking capacity. So getting to a world, there's a virtuous circle of people who can leverage AI strategically or unlocking capacity on both ends. That's what we mean by unlocking capacity.
So, you wrote that in the agentic era, 18 months of frozen roadmap.
Yep. Yeah. So from there, as a person who's been in the industry over 25 years, I've seen multiple different changes, the paradigm shifts, if you will. Seen the rise of social media compared to 2000, what it is today. Seen the rise of the mobile phone and seen the birth of a category and a function with customer success and all of that. But these were all major changes. Back in the day, each change was very significant change in its own right. They continue to be. But the change that we are seeing now is nothing like that I have ever seen in my professional career of over 25 years. Nothing even comes close to it. And in this era, a few months, we get outdated. Classic examples. If you have noticed that Anthropic has suddenly become a darling of the industry. A lot of people saying that, okay, you must shift to Claude versus a ChatGPT. That movement is probably a few months old. At the heart of it, there are a couple of things. Cowork, Cloud, release of Cloud Cowork, and release of Cloud Skills. Those were at the heart of it. And how old are they? Cloud Skills was launched end of October, and it was open sourced as a standard in December. That's all of 2.5 months ago. And there are close to 1 million skills that the community has created already. And if you're a large company with a change management burden that I need to deal with, how can I even get that into my roadmap? How many hops do I need to go through?
It's not possible, is it?
So it's not like people are not smart, they know it. But in an ocean liner with 1,000 people, how are you even going to get an alignment in the where each person is on a different plane of learning? Not everybody is as active in terms of learning. In a company like mine, I am learning every single day. I keep an eye in terms of what's happening. And that's true for everyone on my team. We're staying nimble and by choice. And we're able to react quickly and build proactively for the future. And the future that's unfolding now, not living in a roadmap that was created at the beginning of the year. And okay, I check the boxes if I have delivered on that roadmap. No, that agility is of paramount importance for survival. It's not just for success, but for survival.
Times they really have changed.
Yep, truly.
I'd like to move on now to the rapid fire section of the pod. Now, in one sentence, first instinct, enablement is dead. True or false?
Enablement as it is known now is dead.
The most dangerous move a founder makes after product market fit.
Assuming that I have reached product market fit for good and just focus on the GTM and other angle. You asked for one line, I'll add one more line to it. Given the changes that are happening around us, the product market fit is a continuous game. It's like a treadmill. I think you said that also in one of your blog posts.
Yeah, it's a continuous process, right? There's the goalposts just are always expanding. So got to keep pushing. The metric everyone tracks that measures the wrong thing.
Okay, I'll just talk about something recent in my mind. In a conversation with over 50 leadership GTM leaders, a common consensus emerging that we're all proactive about AI because we have given ChatGPT and Cloud licenses to all of our team. And they're helping us lead the AI transformation. It's not truly a metric, but that is dangerous for me. And I believe every one of us, individually, professionally, and as businesses, we are in a transformational era right now. Just assuming that just giving tools to these LLM tools and saying that the transformation is happening is the biggest make that's happening right now. It's going to prove costly.
That's a good point. When fragmented architecture, when you get tools tacked on instead of having a foundational architecture, that can lead to collapse. The belief about AI in sales that is completely wrong.
So I talk about the category that I operate in, namely enablement and revenue activation. Still see that a number of organizations and professionals continue to focus on activity metrics like learning metrics. How many people took this course, how many attended, how many completed a course, and what's the passing percentage, and what's the average score, and all of that. That excessive focus in the revenue organizations, especially in the enablement side, that seems to be continuing. It's decreasing, but that focus is still there.
The next revenue category to consolidate.
Oh boy, with its consolidation across the board, seeing that We just saw it's more of a vertical consolidation in enablement, but you're seeing Gong getting into forecasting, it's getting into outreach, sales engagement, outreach getting into forecasting, and it's getting into call recording. Everybody is trying to become everybody else. So it's going to be interesting. I believe the consolidation has already started. The consolidation of adjacent categories merging into one to provide a holistic solution I'd be far more supportive of that compared to vertical consolidations where two competing vendors merging together to become a larger company.
AI layered onto portal architecture, innovation or denial?
It's a denial. You need a fundamental rethink on AI, the context engineering part of it that we talked about earlier.
You helped name customer success before the market had language for it. You are naming revenue activation now. If there's one structural shift modern GTM leaders must make immediately, what is it?
That's a loaded question. It's truly, as a leader, thinking about how AI is transforming my GTM. That's one mindset shift that I would strongly recommend the GTM leaders to think deeply about. Not just listen to others, but think deeply about. Yeah, just saying that this shift is so foundational and fundamental at many levels that a lot of people who are in the leadership positions now and end their way through that. We all are going through this transformation. Probably people do not appreciate the importance of rolling up the sleeves and learning what's going on. Hands-on.
2 mergers, 4 months. Bigger platforms do not mean better architecture. Revenue compounds only when structural layers are engineered in sequence. Enablement stores knowledge. Activation collapses distance between signal and decision. If you are building GTM under real constraints, explore GTM Vault. Build architecture, not activity. Sreedhar, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Rick. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
The GTM operating system for teams building repeatable revenue.